Iraqi jets today launched an airstrike against ISIS fighters inside Syria, where the U.S. is on the ground, with partner forces trying to finish off the Islamic State. The wider war inside Syria has been raging for 7 years, but Bashar al-Assad's army is preparing for what could be the war's final major battle. Nick Schifrin has the story.
The horror of Syria's war has felt endless. 500,000 dead, millions displaced. But the battlefield has shifted dramatically. Take a look at this map. September 30th, 2015, the day Russia intervened. The Syrian government, in red, controlled pockets across the west. ISIS controlled a spiderweb in the center and east. And this is today. The Syrian government, in red, has made dramatic progress. ISIS, in black, reduced to a small area. Anti-government rebels in green only have a few pockets. The most important is Idlib. That is the likely last major battle of the Syrian war. The yellow is Kurdish-controlled. And take a look at these photos from the Kurdish area. A Syrian mother named Batul with her baby. And Batul with Gayle, Tzemach, Lemmon, who just returned from the Kurdish-controlled areas and joins us now. She is an adjunct senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. And also joining me is Paul Salem, president of the Middle East Institute and the author most recently of From Chaos to Cooperation Toward Regional Order in the Middle East. Thank you to you both. And Paul Salem, let me turn to you. Why is Idlib so important?
Well, as you said, Idlib is the last of the bastions that is still partly with the opposition and partly with terrorist groups. Idlib is the only major remaining place where there is several, tens of thousands of opposition fighters. Some are terrorist groups, as well as Turkish-backed Free Syrian Army rebel groups. Right now, the city and the province of Idlib, which holds anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 million civilians, is the last remaining sort of location. The Assad regime and the Russians and the Iranians want to resolve that last holdout in Idlib one way or the other soon, because that would basically conclude much of the Syrian war. The risk is that the fighting, if it were to come down to a military fight, would be even more horrific than we've seen so far, might push hundreds of thousands of refugees back on the march, either through Turkey or through other places.
Gayle, Tzemach, Lemmon, take us to the Kurdish area. Take us to the northeast, where you've seen a lot of progress.
Absolutely, and I know we talk about it as a Kurdish area, but the closer you get to Raqqa, the more you see really local Arab forces. And I think the story of Batul, the mother you showed, embraces and sort of embodies both the horror and the hope of this conflict. The horror in that here's a mom who walked out of Raqqa City when we met her 1 year ago, 8.5 months pregnant, gave birth to a baby that was 2 kilos, so definitely teeny tiny.
4.5 pounds.
4.5 pounds, right, and had a very strong chance of dying. And in fact, her mother thought she was going to die. And when we met her, she was talking about how she did not want to give birth to a baby in ISIS-controlled territory. And it is why she gave her whole life savings to a smuggler who made her, put her family in a convoy with 5 other cars. The 5th car exploded as it drove over an ISIS-emplaced landmine. And basically what we see today is this mother 1 year later who has, a baby that is really healthy and chunky and happy. All her kids are in school. And she talked to us 1 year later from when we first met her about how she really has hope for the future and that what she believes is possible now is to have a basic level of security for Syrians to be able to rebuild their future. And what she asked for was the international community to remain present there in the region.
You also saw the opening of a women's council in Raqqa, and I think we've got video of that as well. Is there a real sense that what was the headquarters of ISIS at one point has really turned a corner for good?
It is fascinating, Nick, right? So on streets where women were bought and sold, we went to this event this past week where you saw dancing and men and women, and a lot of women I interviewed from Raqqa who talked about how they had never been outside the home working or volunteering prior to ISIS. And what you really see, what I saw this trip and in the 3 other trips I've made in the past year is Arab women who are really saying, listen, they pushed us too far and our families now support us to be part of local councils, to be part of local security. One woman I met was a shopkeeper who just opened a a sort of pajama shop in Raqqa. And she said, you know, business has been slow at the outset. It's starting to pick up. She said, I almost packed up my bags and went home, but my father told me that he really believed that I should keep at this and be part of rebuilding the economy and helping our family. And you hear that story over and over again.
Paul Salem, I wonder if, as we're about to see perhaps the last major battle of the war, have the underlying reasons for why we've been seeing so much war over the last 7 years been changed? What's
particularly tragic about the Syrian situation is that the causes of terrible government repression, torture and all of that, an economy that was very unequal in how it distributed wealth, all of that has gotten much worse, and yet Syria has not gotten closer. Maybe it's gotten farther from a political settlement. So whereas obviously getting rid of ISIS is a blessing of untold proportions, but the road ahead for Syria for many years is going to be very difficult. First of all, the war itself, has ended in some areas, but much of the discontent, many of the armed small groups are still there. It might come back in different forms here or there. The president, the government does not have legitimacy. There are no credible elections coming forward. There is no negotiation.
And Gayle, Tzemach, Lemmon, very quickly in the time we have left, what did you hear when you were just in the Northeast? Did you hear a desire to maintain, from the U.S. perspective, presence in that area?
Absolutely. And I think what you hear from everybody is two things. One is a question. So can you tell us what the Americans are going to do? The second thing is people stating a desire, and this is moms and dads, shopkeepers, along with U.S. forces, actually, saying, look, we really do think the international presence is helping to really keep a level of stability and security that allows schools to open, people to go back out onto the street, allows stores to begin to come back to life. And I think we have spent so much time in Washington talking about what the United States is not capable of. And here in Northeast Syria, you actually have an example of what U.S. leadership with a partner force that is, able to both take the land, but then also to hold it, and with local forces, is able to do for moms and dads. And I don't think that we talk enough about what is actually happening there on the ground, which is a story of forward-moving progress amid destruction and amid the devastation of war and of ISIS.
Gayle, Tzemach, Lemmon, Paul Salem, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.